Hey everyone, Art Burns here. I wish you well today. So yesterday I talked about in my video how a lot of people that I talk to, they don't even think that they're feeling stressed. They don't understand that they're feeling stressed. They feel that or they feel that the stress that they're feeling is just kind of normal. It's just part of life. It's just something that's just I hear everything. I hear it's my edge. It's what drives me. It's it separates me from the pack. It's what makes me thrive. And I mean, I I don't mean to laugh. I mean, it's not, it's really not funny. It's not something that's funny at all because the thing is that we're deluding ourselves. That we're making ourselves think that this feeling that we have is somehow, part of our sort of drive and excitement, right? Which to be fair, there is a certain extent of that is the stress response, right? Like if we're too calm, we're too relaxed as a body, as a physical thing, then we're not going to motivate ourselves to do things. So in everything you do, and everything that does get you a little excited and motivates you to move, I mean, for instance, just waking up in the morning, your body secretes cortisol, right, to get you going, right? So it's not to say that doesn't have an element of truth to it, right? But the thing is that it's on a spectrum, right? And the more stress that you experience in your body, right, the more cortisol, the more adrenaline, the more of what we call another hormone called norepinephrine, the more of this that is present in your body, right? Which, by the way, there's a study, I love this one, that a brilliant doctor by the name of Robert Zapolsky, he he was able to measure the cortisol levels in a person in commuter traffic and said there's the same levels of cortisol in the person in commuter traffic in the United States of America as there is in a zebra as it's fleeing a lion in Africa. Okay, so there's a spectrum, right? And as we feel more of that, as we have more of this cortisol and adrenaline and norepinephrine running through our bodies, right? And as we experience the hyperarousal as a result of those hormones, right? That means hyperarousal means the elevated heart rate, the increased blood pressure, the respiratory system going very, very fast and shallow, right? As that happens, right, the more that happens, the more other physiological things are going to happen in your body as well, right? And as I mentioned yesterday, it's like the things that are involved with your whole life and not just with fight or flight, right? Those are the things that are going to suffer. So the reason I say this is because when people say that no, stress is what drives me, it's like, yeah, you're right to an extent, right? But really, all that extreme stress, especially if it's on a chronic level, what that's doing is really it's inhibiting your ability to thrive, right? You're in survival mode in that state. Like that's just, there's no other way to say it, right? Your body is in survival mode. In fact, the reason why your heart rate and your blood pressure and your respiratory system are going all haywire like that is you're trying to get blood out of what we call the viscera, right? Which is the center of our body, right? Which is where, our all the vital organs of our bodies, that's where all our resources are needed, all the time, right? But in the stress response, what you're doing is you're sending all of that out, all the blood and the oxygen and all the energy of your body is going into the big muscles, the extremities of your body, right? And this is, so that you can flee or you can fight, right? So, so while it is true to say that some level of hyperarousal is a positive thing on a it's more of a controlled level, if you will, right? When it goes past a certain point, it gets to a certain level on that spectrum, it's actually fighting your ability to accomplish the things that you want to. Because again, as I started to say, you're in survival mode of your body, right? Your body, you literally, your blood and your oxygen and all of the different functions of your brain and your body are literally optimizing themselves to survive something, right? And so you cannot possibly expect to thrive at the same time that you are optimized to survive. It's two separate things of your body, right? There's no way that you can do both of those things, right? So the question then becomes, and this is something I talk to a lot of parents, parents are kind of, in this very sort of, um, it's sort of this like in between group, right? Like, so, you know, um, parents are more likely to acknowledge that they have like a stress feeling in their body, right? But they're also less likely to think there's anything they can do about it, which actually contributes more to the stress, right? And so when I talk to a lot of parents, they kind of say, well, I'm not stressed, I'm just, I'm just, I just have a lot to do, or I'm just, hectic, I just running around, well, that is that feeling that you're feeling, that is stress. So today, what I wanted to talk about with you today here is, I want to tell you, like, how can you recognize that you're in stress, right? How do you know? I mean, because I can come here and tell you, like, oh, well, this, you're in stress because of this and this and this and this, but how do you know, right? So I'm going to give you a few sort of telltale signs, right? And this applies to people who are parents, business people, students, whatever, right? So, again, then now the first way to, or one way to, these are not necessarily in any kind of order. Everybody's going to perceive things differently, and I'm going to get to refining this in a minute. But there's the body, right? Then there's the emotions. Then there's the thoughts, right? Those are the sort of three ways we can experience anything that we experience, right? And so when you're experiencing, so when you can, understand stress in your body, right? Remember, your heart rate is speeding up, your blood pressure is increased, your digestive system is shut down, your breathing, your respiratory system is going, haywire, right? So think about what those things feel like, right? So if you get this like throbbing feeling in your head, like you're getting like a throbbing headache, that's probably caused by stress, right? If you feel your heart racing, right? Pump, 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 pump. That's caused by stress, right? Or that's a sign that you're in the stress response, right? An upset stomach, right? Your digestive system shuts down during the stress response, because the reason is that if you're fleeing a tiger, your body knows that the tiger is going to digest your food with you, so there's no point in wasting energy. The idea is get away from the tiger, and in fact, the opposite of fight or flight is called rest and digest, so that's the thing, right? So when you feel this queasiness in your stomach, right, not after you've eaten something, like, not after you just eat a whole huge meal and you ate too much, or you ate something that didn't agree with you or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just like that pit in your stomach, like where you just feel like, oh man, my gut hurts, So those are yeah, oh, and shallow breathing, right? Again, the respiratory system, right? So if you find yourself like, if you just like notice yourself doing that, then that is a sign that you're in the stress response, right? So in the emotions, right? There's really two main ways that you're going to feel the stress in your emotions, right? You're going to feel either you're stuck, like a deer in the headlights, like you can't, you feel like you're just, you're paralyzed, like you just can't, your mind can't move one way or the other, right? If you ever have that feeling, that's a very, very clear sign that you're in the stress response. Or the other end of the spectrum, right? You feel like you could just burst, like you're just gonna have what Daniel Goleman calls an amygdala hijack, right? Where you just feel like you're just gonna lose it emotionally, right? Whether that's anger or crying or whatever. If you feel just like you're on the verge of like, oh, I'm just about to break down in some way, And of course, this is also on a spectrum, right? Like you've been trained, many of you, to not break down like that, and so it's not like that you are crying, it's not that you are, like losing it, but that you feel like you could lose it, right? Signs of stress, right? And then the thoughts. If you find yourself feeling thoughts of victimhood, like, why is this happening to me? You find yourself with thoughts of judgment of others, of yourself, like, gosh, I can't believe that person did this. This is absolutely, outrageous, and I can't, what kind of person would do this kind of thing? Those thoughts, right? Those are very, very clear signs that you're in a stress place. Okay, so now, obviously, if I can just sit here and talk to you and say, yeah, this is easy to find out, right? But it's not as easy for most people, because the problem is that, again, because we don't even think we're in the stress response, right? It's something that we've kind of gotten so used to that we're not able to even see it a lot of times, right? And so that's where I come in. Okay, so I am, so what I do is, and this is all based on stuff that I have, practices and work that I've done for myself, right? The way in which you can see these body, emotion, thought responses as part of stress, the symptoms of stress, if you will, is through awareness, right? As we develop a deeper and wider sense of awareness of our feelings, of our body feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, as we develop an awareness of this, we start to then see when we're in the stress response. And now here's the thing, right? The stress response is what causes the angry outburst. The stress response is what causes procrastination. The stress response is what causes, all the different things that might be holding you back in your life, right? In parenting and work and whatever it is, right? Once you develop a higher level of awareness of your body, your thoughts, your emotions, and see this stress response when it's this little bitty thing, right? Not this like blowing up at somebody, not after you've screamed at somebody, not after you've slammed the phone down, not after you've canceled a meeting, not after you've done things that are, that are actions in the world that you can't necessarily undo, right? After you scolded your kid or slammed the door or thrown a plate down and cracked it or something like that, right? No. I'm talking about way before that, right? As you develop your awareness, you can start to see these things brewing, right? You start to see, okay, I'm in that stress response, right? Now, in that moment, we can do a lot of different things, right? There's tons of practices you can do at that moment. They can take as little as 10 seconds to get yourself out of that stress response, right? But once it gets past that, once it gets into the slamming the plate or the slamming the door or hanging up a phone or canceling a meeting or what have you, at that point it takes a lot more. It's a lot more tricky to get out of that point of the stress response. So, if you'd like more information about this, if you'd like to understand this a little bit deeper and you'd like to know some ways in which you can do some daily, very simple, very short duration practices, okay? This is not something where you have to lock yourself away in a monastery for 6 months and come out the other side of that. We're talking about like a few minutes a day, right? And there's lots of science behind this. I can totally send you lots of science behind how this works, right? And how it is attainable with just a few minutes every day. So if you'd like to learn more, drop a comment, send me a direct message, get in touch with me, let's talk, all right? Because stress is a very, very serious thing, and most people don't take it as seriously as it needs to. Thanks for listening. I wish you well. Talk to you soon.